Welcome to the Silver Screen Project, where we look back at a series of films in anticipation of an exciting new cinema release.
In preparation for the new Jurassic Park film, Jurassic World Dominion, we're going back and watching the first two, this time talking about Jurassic World.
We are indeed.
Sam, what are your overall thoughts on Jurassic World?
I think it has some very solid dinosaur stuff in it. But
which is good for a Jurassic
It is
film.
good, but I do think it is a little disappointing in places. What about yourself?
I thought it was thoroughly enjoyable. Going back to watch it, I kind of had the view, I was like, oh, it's good, but it's not that good. And I think it's kind of tainted by the second one, which we'll talk about next time. But watching it back, I was like, you know what? This is great fun.
Yeah, generally speaking, I have more positives with this one than negatives. There's some silly moments, but, you know, it's excusable. There's some stuff with the Indominus, stuff with Blue that I think is really fantastic.
Yeah. So you may remember, actually, this film came out whilst we were at university.
Yes.
And I've never been more excited on the way to the cinema than seeing this film.
Yeah.
Like, I was probably only matched with like 2014 Godzilla. Like,
right,
I was
okay,
genuinely so hyped to go to cinema to see this because the original three films, like the first one is my favorite film of all time.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, I know it's going to be kind of a cash grabby thing, but I'm there for it.
Yeah.
I had a really good time with this. I thought it was, I liked it more than I remembered liking it.
I think the stuff that I think is disappointing is kind of just little silly bits, really. And it's,
I
say
agree.
Disappointing, it's maybe not the right word, especially when you contrast it with the second one. I think it's stuff where it's kind of like Force Awakens style stuff of like, remember this? Nostalgia stuff.
I'm a sucker for that. I also love Force Awakens.
Yeah, disappointing is the wrong word, but yeah, there's some slight negatives I'd say throughout, but generally speaking, like what stuff did you really like about this?
So I think kind of following on from that, just being in that universe again, I really enjoyed it, and like seeing the park open and seeing how it works. I was just like, I love.
Because we never got a chance to see it in action before, did we? Yeah.
And I was just like, I love just seeing this and just like, oh man, like if this was real, I'd literally,
so good.
I'd quit any kind of fun stuff for like 10 years just to save up to get a ticket to go here, and it'd be the greatest moment of my life. And like they really do show it as like a really like Disneyland type, like amazing.
Even
place
with like
to be.
the petting zoo with the baby dinosaurs, which is so cute. And
like from that, I think it's kind of centered around two child actors.
Yeah,
I think they're pretty good. Like
they are. I think the older one's a bit annoying, but it's kind of the point. Like he's a bit
annoying until the mosasaur scene when he's like, "Oh yeah, dinosaurs are cool," and after that, he's a bit better.
Yeah, and there's lots of bonding scenes with the two of them. There's bits where they help each other out with
Parents
stuff.
Getting divorced.
Yeah, and it's some of it's kind of silly and, you know, Steven Spielberg kid kind of thing. But generally speaking, I think they're both good actors. And one of them is in Iron Man 3, is that right?
The younger one.
The younger one.
And in Avengers Endgame. At the
funeral. Everyone's like, who was that teenager standing?
It's like, oh yeah, it's that kid from Iron Man 3. Another thing I really loved that something they kind of added for this that you didn't see in the originals was the relationship between Owen, played by Chris Pratt, and the Raptors.
Yeah.
Like him training them. Like even the scene where he has to go in the cage and save the moron.
Yeah,
like,
it's all very cool, isn't it?
And like in the original, you've got the monsters and you've got the raptor guy, but he's more of just like a hunter.
Yeah, and there's the implication that they're smart and they can do all this kind of clever girl stuff. But yeah, you really see it in this, and it leans into that and the practical application where we get Vincent D'Onofrio.
Who is so unrecognizable.
He really is.
To
we were watching this
Kingpin,
and I was watching it with Amy, and there's moments when he's first introduced and he's doing this kind of gruff voice that's very similar to Kingpin, and then almost immediately he drops it because he's not in like a tense situation, and he is. From that point on, he's completely unrecognizable. Even visually, like he doesn't
obviously
look
like the beard and the hair changed it, but like he looks shorter.
He looks much slimmer. Like he's not in shape particularly, but he's not
and
like
even his voice is completely different. It's just like you'd never believe this is the same guy.
He's very good in this. Yeah, he doesn't really get as much play as I would have liked.
Yeah, and his character's a bit like two-dimensional.
It's like, oh, this is the guy who wants to use it for military purposes, kind of thing. Yeah,
the Raptors are the standout for this for me.
Blue, the introduction of like a specific raptor that we care about that has relationships.
Like the Raptors were a highlight of the original films, particularly 1 and 3. But having like people, they know that the Raptors are fan favorites, having them all like Blue, we love Blue.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, literally making one. It's so like, you look at it cynically, it's merchandising, and it's like,
and I literally have a toy of Blue that I
it's the same
on graduation day.
It's the same thing they do with every like Star Wars film. They're like, we need a new droid that looks different.
Or here's Grogu.
Here's C-3PO with a red arm this time. It's that kind of thing. But it works, and I think the only criticism I have about that is how much they lean into like, these raptors understand people. And there's points where like they're having a little conversation, the raptors, and they like switch sides, and it's like, it's silly. It's why one kind of criticism of that. But generally speaking, it's really cool. And we get Blue especially kind of saving the day in this one, which seems to be a bit of a running theme through these films.
Yeah, and like, so I remember at the time some people were a bit annoyed with like Blue and the T-Rex teaming up to fight the Indominus, and at one point Blue's literally standing on T-Rex's back. But you know what? That final fight is so much fun. I love it, and the fact that like then the Mosasaur comes back and kind of gets him at the end.
It's like a Deus Ex Machina. It's something we've seen coming, but it's well forecast.
But that whole thing is like is great fun. Like I thoroughly, it's silly, but like that fight, I'm just like, this is great.
And the Indominus Rex, I think, was something that not controversial in the way that, you know, a Star Wars film is controversial, but controversial in that it was a new made-up dinosaur, and it has these extra things like the cloaking, which it doesn't use too much, and I think that's an intentional thing. It's like they don't want to make it too much of like an alien predator kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings on the Indominus, because the Indominus itself is really cool. What it can do, it's cool. As a villain, it's cool. But I always had the lingering feeling that, why is this even in this film? Like, why have they got this made up dinosaur? Like,
I think part of that, it's kind of like they do it in a bit of a meta way as well, that it's intentionally like gross and weird, and they're like, oh, even the parents are going to be scared of it, which is kind of like a lame line, but it's this whole idea that it's not supposed to be there, and even when Owen's talking about it, he's like, you fucked this up, like it's never had any other interaction, it's finding its way around. They handle it quite well, considering the concept is quite messy.
I remember disliking the idea more than when I watched it. I'm like, actually, and they make the point like all these dinosaurs are fake. Like,
exactly.
And like even looking at it from an outside perspective, raptors in reality were like 2 foot tall.
Is it right that Michael Crichton kind of switched? Is it Deinonychus and raptors round because Velociraptors had a better name? Kind of thing. And it's true, they do. Like, it's a great name. But the stuff with the Indominus, I think the design is really good. And the opening scene, the scene where you get introduced to it and it escapes because it does its cloaking, which they didn't realize it had somehow. And then the reveal later that scene actually when Owen, who's played by Chris Pratt, is hiding under the car and he uses the oil and stuff. There's some cool stuff. And then, I was saying later on, we find out, it's part raptor, so it's like the alpha, and it's all telegraphed very well. And
because they make a point that Chris Pratt's Owen is the alpha.
Literally, like in that scene, in that sense, the script is quite tight in lots of ways.
Solid, and it was written by Spielberg, so it's not a surprise.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Another kind of little things. I think Larry is a great character. Who's the guy in the control room with the glasses and the Jurassic Park
Jake
t-shirt.
Johnson.
He's just a fun character
because he's just like and he's wearing the shirt, and Bryce Dallas Howard's like, that's in poor taste. Like, people died. It's also like 15 people died. Like, compared to this, like
a lot more people died. Also, I really like Bryce Dallas Howard, both in this and the sequel.
I think her character could have been really really annoying.
Yeah.
But they handle it quite well. The one bit people take the piss of is the heels scene.
Yeah, I don't care about
but
that.
you see her in those heels throughout the film, and it's like she can clearly run on heels, and people can run on heels. It's not practical.
And like there's lots of things in this film that aren't practical, like bringing back dinosaurs.
No, absolutely,
but yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. I think one thing that stood out to me early on where I was like, well, that's dumb, is when Bryce Dallas Howard is doing the pitch to shareholders about the Indominus,
right?
And she kind of says like, "Oh, people aren't impressed with dinosaurs anymore. We need to come up with something bigger and better." I was like, in no world would people get bored of dinosaurs.
And how long's this park been running? Like 5 years? Maybe 10 years.
Like 10 years.
Yeah, but which also means that there was not much downtime after Jurassic Park. They rebranded.
Like
they rebranded for no reason because it was not,
But like, and they have references to the original.
Yeah.
So, but like, people go to Disneyland every single year. Some
people are obsessed.
My brother's been to Disneyland, Florida, like 6 times.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that, but like with dinosaurs. People love dinosaurs.
Yeah.
People wouldn't get and also when they're like, oh, we need something bigger with bigger teeth and something. Jurassic Park 3 has a Spinosaurus, which is bigger with more teeth and kills a T-Rex.
Yes.
If the shareholder's not something bigger, just have a Spinosaurus. You've got the DNA. You can do it.
It's because they are ignoring the third film. Isn't it?
They're ignoring both.
And I wonder if
in
the new kind of. I wonder if in the new film, because Sam Neill is coming back, if he'll be like, oh, I haven't been here in 35 years or whatever. Or if he'll be like, last time I came back here, it was shit, and I don't know why I'm back again. I guess he's not going back.
The third film is on a different island.
It's the second, the hatching. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lewis, don't worry. I've watched all 4 seasons of Camp Cretaceous. I know what I'm talking about. Speaking of which, the monorail that is...
Monorail.
The monorail, which at one point we see is destroyed in this, or it might be in the next film, is destroyed in a scene in Camp Cretaceous and is not in any of the live action films. So they do tie them together quite nicely.
There we go.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I've got in it.
I like the pods. I think it's an interesting idea and they use it fairly well in both films.
Yeah, it's a kind of. I think I saw that the gyroscopes. It was Steven Spielberg's idea because he wanted a way for people to get closer to dinosaurs.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't work that well because they get crunched up quite easily
by the Indominus. Though they're meant to be going around like.
Yeah,
herbivores.
When they bump around the herbivores and stuff. Yeah, no, generally speaking.
But yeah, I had good fun on that. So I've got a couple of bits of trivia.
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
One which I remember at the time being a big deal was the fan theory that Owen Grady was the grown-up version of the kid in the opening scene of Jurassic Park. His obsession with raptors and kind of all that stuff. I guess we'd get a confirmation in because Sam Neill's in Dominion, if that is true.
Yeah. I don't know if does the time... Yeah, I guess it kind of works, doesn't it?
The time does kind of line up.
It's very Iron Man 2 with young Peter Parker, isn't it?
There's no confirmation either way, but Whit Hertford, who played the kid in Jurassic Park, said... Guys like me don't grow up to look like Chris Pratt.
I mean, Chris Pratt was never always this like super buff
I literally
guy.
Looked up a picture of this guy in 2022 today, and he's been in stuff. He's not bad looking.
No.
If he went to the gym a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've spoken about Parks and Rec recently, and Chris Pratt, as most people know, was not always in super good shape.
Do you think part of the reason is because the kid in Jurassic Park is a bit fat, and they were like, Chris Pratt used to be a bit fat?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And the other bit I've got is during early stages of development, Harrison Ford was set to star in this movie,
right?
But dropped out due to the quality of Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
So they're like, let's get rather than a young guy, let's get an even older guy than was in the first film.
But it just made like. Imagine Harrison Ford in a Jurassic Park film.
I mean, it'd be great, but not as the main character.
No, have him. He could replace the guy who owns the park, the Indian guy who crashed his helicopter.
Yeah, or just have him as like instead of them having the PA who gets brutally killed by those pterodons.
Who's Morgana in Merlin.
Yeah, Casey McGrath, I think she's called. But yeah, she gets, instead of her, maybe have Harrison Ford as the old grumpy grandpa who comes with them.
Or even in place of Jimmy Fallon. When he does these like kind of science talks in the Dry
That's
Scrape.
true, yeah. Interesting,
But anyway, Jurassic World, good fun, which means all I've got left to do is ask you the super important question of does Jurassic World make you more or less hyped for Jurassic World Dominion, Proj yes or Proj no?
Proj yes with this one. Yeah, it was, as I said, going back into it, I wasn't super hyped for it, but like, it was fun and it sets a good world, and I'm excited to see these characters again. If it was just this one, not 100% sure about the next one, but we will talk about that another time. What about you?
I will say Proj yes. This was close to being a Proj no, simply not because of the quality of this film, but because I'm super hyped for Jurassic World Dominion anyway.
It didn't make
it's hard to make it more hyped, but I will say I enjoyed this more than I thought I was going to back to it. So I'm going to go, Proj yes.
Lovely. So thank you for listening to us ramble on about Jurassic World.
Yes, join us next time as you listen to us about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And hopefully you are also getting ready for Jurassic World Dominion, which is out in cinemas.
Yeah, you can let us know via the link tree in the episode description all your thoughts about this film, some predictions for the new film, and what you'd like us to cover on our main podcast, The Project Projects.
Certainly can. But for now, goodbye.
Bye-bye.